Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys a bunch of update information. In update, I mean there's going to be a maintenance in a couple of days time where they're going to be fixing a few things, especially a few brawlers imbalance changes. So I don't know whether it's going to be like a ton of brawlers. I'm just going to think that it's only going to be a couple, mainly because we have monthly finals in a couple of days. But as you can see by Brawl Stars themselves, they said over on Twitter about the mega box information, there was potentially going to be a scheduled maintenance. And then they actually and also they're going to be balancing the new MOBA, so I'm going to guess they're probably going to balance the likes of Clancy, any other brawlers that I'm trying to think of off the top of my head. I can't think of many other things that need balancing, but that's definitely one of them. And there's a few bugs actually with Jackie's rebuild gadget and then Lumi activating the tower and so forth. So fixing bugs and probably Clancy nerf. And then you can see that they're actually going to do the maintenance on Thursday. So in 2 days time, they're going to include some balance changes and some fixes to the new MOBA. So I'm going to be going through what I think it will be with some of them. I think pretty much 100% confirmed near enough. So let's jump into it. All right, guys, so we're going to be going through 8 buffs and 8 nerfs, which I'm going to predict with the balance changes coming. But I'm actually really thinking that 2 of them are pretty much 99.9% going to happen. And then the other ones just take maybe with a pinch of salt, because I don't know whether they're going to shift up the meta that much, and especially with a potential Brawl talk in 11 days, do they really need to do that many balance changes? We'll have to wait and see. So there's gonna be 2 brawlers absolutely that will get nerfed, and the first one is Lumi. Lumi absolutely is done broken, especially in the MOBA mode. She's just unplayable in competitive. She's banned 100% of the time. She needs a nerf, and the nerf I predict, I think there should be 2 nerfs with Lumi. The first is with the slow and stop power. It's way too much. 2 seconds is definitely too much. You know, nerf it to 1 second, whatever. And then the other one, I really think they should nerf the attack delay just a little bit, just because you can spam out attacks so frequently. I know this is a thing that made a lot of brawlers in the past, like Charlie, a lot weaker, but with Lumi you can spam out attacks way too fast. I just talk about a small nerf so that it doesn't kill her. The next balance change, which pretty much is going to 100% happen with this fix, is going to be with Kenji. So Kenji and Lumi are the top 2 brawlers in the game easily right now, and Kenji needs an emergency nerf, and he needs an emergency nerf for literally since his hypercharge came out. I can't believe it's took him this long. Hopefully it's going to happen now. So with Kenji, yeah, this is hypercharge. Let's just face it, hypercharge fundamentally is broken. They could probably just nerf the hypercharge rate, which they've done with brawlers like Sam in the past. But what they should do, if they've got the time to do it, is nerf the hypercharge, whether it's the pull radius, whether it's just something along the lines of in its hypercharge itself. Fundamentally, it needs a big nerf. It's completely broken. And then they should just nerf the hypercharge rate as well, because you can just farm hypercharges easily with Kenji. So these 2 brawlers pretty much 99% confirmed to get a nerf, I'm hoping. Next up, hopefully on the nerf list, is Hank. Actually, I don't really hope that he gets a nerf. Please do not kill him, Supercell. Please, he's only just became meta, and the casuals still think he's bad, but Hank is still a top 5 brawler in the game, and they should nerf him in a couple of ways. They should either slightly nerf his supercharge rate, because he can just defeat tanks so easily through his super cycling, or nerf his shield gadget. I think these are the 2 biggest problems with Hank. Still on my nerf wish list, it has to be Buster, and if you've been watching my streams, I've just been screaming at how annoying Buster is in the meta right now. There's a couple of problems with him, and I think it's mainly his damage as per usual. But it's his pull gadget. His pull gadget's too strong, but can you nerf that in any way? Maybe nerf the cooldown duration. That could be a good nerf. But I think nerfing the hypercharge so you don't automatically get your hypercharge super through just staying with teammates, I just think that's too dumb. Let's just face that is way too broken. You can get a hypercharge every single round and knockout. That's too strong. Something like that should not be in the game. So next up on the nerf wish list, I have Thinx, and I know what you guys are thinking straight away. You get the pun? No. With Thinx, he is one of the best brawlers in pro play, but people aren't really playing too much Thinx when I look at ranked, when I look at ladder. People don't realize how strong Thinx is, so I'm not 100% sure whether they're going to nerf him, but they should probably nerf him in a few ways. He's just kind of crept up the meta because he just has no real weakness. He can teleport out of danger and then gain all of his ammo back, so definitely nerfing his gadget cooldown would be a great step, because it's just maxes gadget just infinitely better. It's such a strong gadget. You can, like, for example, if Tara wants to pull you, bang, you just go backwards. Brock super, bang, you go backwards, etc. And then you can burst down people pretty quickly. And then they should probably nerf the HP or something like that. Next up on the nerf wish list, we have B, and B just receives nerfs every single update since the gadget rework, and she still is one of the best brawlers in the game. So how do we go about nerfing B? I honestly still think we should just nerf the cooldown of Right Hive again. Why not just make it 50 seconds at this point? No, I think they should nerf it just a little more, like an extra 3-4 seconds. It is still such a strong gadget, or nerf the damage with it, right? That will make it such a weaker gadget. And then they should actually fix the true red, true blue B glitch. If you didn't know, it depends on what side you're on, which B gadget you get. One of them is really good and ends up hitting the opponent a lot. One of them is just completely useless. So if they nerf it and then buff it in that way, it balances things out. Next up on the nerf wish list, we have Jae Young, and Jae Young is just OP. I'm broken, guys. I'm completely busted. I hope they actually don't nerf him too much. What I would like is to nerf the damage gadget. Cooldown, I think, is too fast. You can burst out people so quickly. Such a good gadget. But what they should do, I'm hoping, is that they nerf the automatic charging super. So you get this like every 7-8 seconds. I don't know how long it is. Very, very fast. But they should make it so you actually charge your super through damage, because I find Jae Young really fun, but at the same time it's not as satisfying when you burst out people and you can't cycle through supers. It's one of the most fun things in Brawl Stars, so I'm hoping they make these small adjustments and Jae Young will be the best brawler in the game still. And lastly on my nerf wish list, we have Chester. So still I'm hoping that they nerf Chester's hypercharge super in some way. I've been screaming for it for a long time. Please, Supercell, just nerf his hypercharge. Stop nerfing his hypercharge rate. So the biggest thing is just the pure damage that it puts out. So whether they nerf the damage increase that you get through the hypercharge, this would help a little bit. But just nerfing it so it just doesn't completely one-shot every single brawler in the game. Or they could nerf the supercharge rate from super, because when you think about it, he can throw a hypercharge onto one person, then he has another one, then he can throw into another. He can like cycle 3 supers like that. So a few ways he can combat Chester. So now I'm going to be going through 8 buffs which I want to see with potentially these balance changes. It might be a big of a stretch. Maybe a couple of these might receive a small buff, but 3 of them that I'm not going to talk about is Doug, Bull and Sam, because these 3 brawlers are always trash. I mean, I'm hoping one of them receives a buff, but probably not. We're going to get a rework in the future, I don't know. But the first one is Mr. P. So Mr. P has dropped off dramatically again. He had that brief period where his hypercharge was done broken, and I know I complained about it a lot, and some people are like, oh, you want to see Mr. P buffed now? Well, I just don't want to see Mr. P's porters just be the reason to win, because it's just unfair. So I don't really recommend buff it. Maybe what they could do, because the hypercharge super isn't that strong, maybe they could buff the hypercharge rate a little bit. I just think he needs a bit more damage, plain and simple. I don't really want them to buff his super or porters in any way, really. Next on the buff wish list, we have Dynamite, and I know the comments are going to be rolling in with this one. Well, Dynamite is actually really good. I played Dynamite in Brawl at 1,000 trophies, and I win every single game. No. Just stop it. Ever since the gadget rework, he's just not really been an option in pro play or even in ranked. Before the gadget rework, last pick Dynamite was such a deadly brawler, especially in like Hot Potato. You think of like Pinball Dreams. There's a few maps where Dynamite could just be a force, but now there's just too many brawlers with so much mobility, it just overrules Dynamite too much. So the buff, I don't actually know how we could buff Dynamite. Maybe just give him a little bit of extra HP. Still, like, he still packs a big punch. But gadget cooldown, it could be reduced as well, but that might make him too strong. Maybe one of you guys has a better suggestion in the comments. So for the buff wish list, we have EMS. So EMS hasn't been used in competitive for years and years, and yet I've still seen content creators or just people on the planet putting EMS in a C tier for infinite time. No, she's been a D tier, F tier brawler for a year, guys. I've been telling you, and she still needs another buff. She received a buff not too long ago. I forgot what I think it was a hypercharge rate buff, which basically did nothing because the hypercharge is just terrible. So I think they should just buff her damage. I know it's pretty scary because at low ranks, EMS is a good brawler, but she's just not being used even to counter tanks, and she used to always be used to counter poker double tanks or just tanks primarily. So just give her a bit of a damage buff and you'll definitely see her return to the meta. I'm talking like 4% maybe. That might be enough to push her back. So for the buff wish list, we have Sandy. So Sandy's fall off has just not been spoken about whatsoever. When you look at Brawl Cup stats, Sandy just wasn't used at all. If you look at pro play, he's very, very rarely used, even with like a max composition to bring Sandy into like these key synergies that you've seen with Sandy in the past. They're just no longer a thing. So Sandy definitely needs a little bit of buff, but how would you buff Sandy? I don't want a supercharge rate buff whatsoever. And I can't really think of many other ways to buff Sandy without making him just obnoxious. I know I'm a big Sandy hater, so I'm thinking maybe like a small damage buff again, maybe like a 4% one, because all of the different lanes around him are just getting these damage buffs, and he just can't seem to keep up. Maybe they can buff the hypercharge rate a little bit. just something to spruce him up a bit. Next up on the buff wish list, we have RUSS, and it just feels like RUSS has been an unloved brawler for a long time now. Its hypercharge doesn't really make too sense, so that's probably one of the ways I would buff him. I mentioned in the past, just make it so you can still go over the hypercharge super, even if you have a power-up. That would be pretty good, so then you get your hypercharge for free. That was a big annoyance with me. And I just think that RUSS has just been pretty boring. Maybe he needs a rework in the future, but he definitely needs probably a HP buff. He probably needs a damage buff as well. He needs a few things to really make him even relevant in the meta. So on the buff wish list, we have Serge. So Serge has fallen a lot in the meta ever since he got the HP nerf. What was it, like 6 months ago nearly now? I think I pretty much spotted him drop down quite quickly, and he just isn't being picked in pro play, and he hasn't been picked for about 4 months now. The main reason being is because he's just too squishy, far too squishy as a tank counter. Before with Serge, you could just go in time and time again with your super, etc. But there's always a fine line with Serge. The smallest slight balance changes just makes him one of the best brawlers in the game. So what do we really do here? I think to truly balance Serge, you'd still have to nerf his gadget that gives you ammo for free when you receive damage. They probably need to make it so you only get like 1 ammo back, and then they should buff his HP, because combining these two things just makes Serge such a cheesy brawler. So on the buff wish list, we have Maisie. So Maisie has been terrible even since the damage buff. Bobby, I'm looking at you again. Every single time I think of Maisie, I think of you, Bobby, because you gaslit the community thinking she was an S-tier brawler. She has not been picked in pro play for a very long time, and only NA picked Maisie. And what we see in NA, in Brawl Cup, and in competitive the past few years, we're not been seeing much, have we? Okay, enough NA. Hey, I'm sorry, I love you, NA guys, but seriously, Maisie is just not a good brawler. She's just too difficult to land shots with consistently. But how do we buff her? Do we give her more damage? Then she's just going to have insane damage. I honestly just think she just needs a little bit of a faster projectile, or maybe a little bit of an extended range, just a tiny bit, and then she can become relevant in the meta. Okay, so the last brawler I'm hoping receives a buff with these balance changes is going to be Rosa. So again, Rosa has been pretty irrelevant in the meta for 6 months plus now. She's not even being picked to counter for likes of Ashe and Buster, where she'd been picked before. And how do we buff her? I think the way to buff her is just by buffing her HP, plain and simple. I just think she gets bursted down too quickly, and she can't deal with even her biggest best matchups. She can't win them whatsoever. So buff her HP, then she'll be able to be more of a threat in maps like Sleeker Fields. And with Buster being meta, I could always rely on Rosa in the past, and I just can't at the moment. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Let me know down in the comment section below if I missed out on any balance changes, or just any particular changes you would like to see with hopefully this in the next few days. But again, make sure to subscribe, because I'm going to be bringing the meta information once it happens. So that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.